Sometimes I want to talk about Claude, but then I feel like I should just ask Claude what to talk about, and then I'm just asking Claude to talk about Claude. You're like TMZ. I feel alone. I feel very alone right now. Does this make you happy? Do you get joy out of this? Do you get pleasure out of this form of torture? So we're at the mall. The mall is the result of capitalism. Capitalism is a system which we all live in.
Why are we at the mall?
Because I wanted to eat food. What is inspiration? I think doing stuff is a lot more inspirational than saying stuff. Jack's filming process is quite nerve-wracking. He just pulls the camera up and stares at me. Sydney Sweeney is created by Peter Thiel. The whole system is AI. I'm here to look smacks, I'm here to get peptide. I'm not doing a great job as an interviewer, but I'm good, brother. Basically, I'm in America. America is a corporation, it's a federal corporation, not a government, as stated by its law. And the federal corporation is basically in charge of dealing with the resources, and it does that by leveraging violence over people. So that means I can do whatever I want, but I have to give that corporation, the United States federal government, a piece of what I'm doing, or else they come put me in a box with guns. You know, it's very hard to accurately create a system which limits its power. Any group of people or any system inherently comes under the belief that they need the power because if they don't have it, someone else will get it, and we're scared of the idea of alien or other, so we individually and as groups try to empower ourselves as much as possible and tend to overlook maybe the ways that doing so kind of negates the openness that is foundational to the American society. The locality of things really doesn't matter as long as a picture suffices. So really we buy stuff based off pictures, which leads me here in front of a picture at the mall, where the mall's basically kind of just here as like a billboard. It's kind of just like a public space. Everyone's kind of leaning into experience. You know, it's really about the experience and more so something to do, you know, a date to go on, somewhere to take your kids, something like that. But there's no real capitalistic justification for this thing to exist. It's more so here as kind of a relic or a, you know, almost like a monument of what capitalism used to look like before the globalized sort of reaction that the marketplace had to the internet. I'm here because I wanted food, and I'm probably too lazy to cook. It's not necessarily the food they're offering, but it's like I can sit there, I can have a nice little drink, and I can talk to a nice little pretty waitress, and she can recommend me this, and I can drink it. It's probably not that great, but she recommended it, so I'm like, you know, yeah, this is a social endeavor. You know, I feel good about trying this thing. Even if it was $16, and its material cost is $2 or $3, and I feel maybe more social, and I feel like maybe I'm doing something with my life, and I'm being a human being as opposed to just lidaring, you know, just sitting there and rotting myself to death. And that's why I tend to go out. But it's really hard to actually go out and then not spend money. And the mall still stands as kind of like an in-between space where you can be there without spending money, but then what you're really doing, it's kind of like Instagram, it's kind of like YouTube. If your attention is there, you know, if your physical presence is here, well then they have the opportunity to make me spend money. So then they put a bunch of stuff in front of my face, and then I fall for it, and then my bank account goes down, but I get a general feeling of experience, and it gives me something to do, you know, with my time. So that's why I'm here, and I'm standing in front of an H&M because I wanted to film a video where you asked me questions, but then you didn't ask me questions. So now I'm here explaining a phenomenological reduction of the forces that have gotten me here to this point today. They should put a Claude booth here. Claude should be here. They got a lot of natural light here, as you can see. If you could, yeah. So the reason Peter Thiel's putting all this money into Clavicular is so that you can introduce the male beauty industry, okay? It's like the Kylie Jenner effect, where you basically need to put in front of all these young people sort of a role model, but not a role model like a superhero, because you can only sell Halloween costumes for so long. But if you sell a role model who is actively selling products and reaffirming the joy of capitalism, well, then you basically have an asset. You have sort of a walking, talking marketing budget, which explains a lot of the cultural sort of figures that are present in our life. You know, how many of those people are at the end of sort of a campaign or an agenda? And you know, oftentimes people get a little too abstract with the agenda. You know, you can just follow the money. You know, you could just follow Retatrutide, and you could see that, you know, Eli and Lilly are putting billions and billions of dollars into lobbying to, you know, get this thing to market. And, you know, once you get this drug to market, just like a lot of other drugs, it's really not a matter of what was this made for, which was, you know, Russian Olympians to compete at the highest level. It's more so what can we make money with. So you could take this GLP-1, you know, made for Russian Olympians, which was developed by the Soviet Union to be sort of like a super drug to make like these super athletes. You can give that to fat people and they won't eat. So they will lose weight, and then we'll see people losing weight and we'll be like, oh, I could lose weight. But the problem is that we're not super Olympians, so we're actually malnourished. We actually won't have enough, let's say, of our macros, our vitamins and minerals, and the sort of essential nutrients we need to survive. So then once these GLP-1s roll out, you're gonna have a bunch of people who have really bad skeletal and bone problems because they're lacking the sort of base nutrients that come with eating food every day. We don't just eat food to get fat, we also eat food to survive and sort of power the human body. So a lot of the people who are taking Retatrutide and a lot of people who are taking these GLP-1s, they're gonna have these sort of experiences where short term they're killing it and they look great, but then after about 5 or 10 years, that period where they weren't eating enough food is really gonna start catching up to them, and they're gonna have very long-term health problems. And the thing about that is that's like cha-ching, that's like big bucks. You know, once you got people with these 10, 20-year-long bone deficiencies that need constant, you know, supervision, medication, and intervention, then you have like a lifelong customer, which is a really great thing to have. So if you have a financial incentive to get someone on a drug, then why the heck would you ever tell someone not to take a drug? And the narratives on both sides around it, you can make money off of the commentary, you can make money off of, you know, basically all sides of an argument. As long as you have people's attention on it, as long as you have people engaging and interacting, then you're sort of in control of the chessboard. And you don't have full control over the pieces, but you can dictate where they're able to fall and where they're not able to fall, and it can allow you to plan on a longer term schedule, which is interesting way that globalization has been really hard to compete with, because if something only exists locally, then like you only have maybe a couple opportunities every day to see it. But if something exists on my feed, if it exists in the feed of my friends, then it basically has a zero cost customer acquisition. You know, it's a sort of exponentially growing potential that comes with the ability to have good content meet product. You know, and this has nothing to do with selling chocolate. This place is undoubtedly losing money. Every single day this place is open, they're losing money. But Hershey as a whole, you see, they want the little kids who come here in this rich area, they want these little rich kids to be like, Mommy, look, there's a Hershey adventure. And then they have a core memory around Hershey's. So then when they're 30 and their wife leaves them and their kids hate them and everything's falling apart, they're gonna go to that 7-Eleven, and what are they gonna pick up? They're gonna pick up a Hershey bar. Because when they were a little kid, that's what made them happy. Because the kids don't understand. They don't understand that Hershey experience right there, it costs money. We don't even care about the product anymore because the product is losing to marketing. If I'm one of these companies, how can I even, you know, do anything else? If I'm trying to make the best product, the best quality thing possible, and then I'm just getting completely outsold and outperformed by someone who doesn't even make products, but he just maxes out the marketing and then sells the Chinese product directly from Alibaba, then what does it matter if I'm making a 100% cotton jacket? If H&M is selling to all my target customers, selling 100% polyester, then clearly my efforts are meaningless. And you can't really expect corporations to, you know, act against their financial interests. The mic's still on me. You guys can still hear me. He can't hear me. This is harder than just like streaming because I thought I'd be getting asked questions, so I'm like in interview mode, but then he's just standing there with a camera as if it was like TMZ. This would be a good way to interact with TMZ, I guess. This isn't about the quality of the material. This isn't about it being high-level jewelry. This isn't about being a good investment. It's Mother's Day soon, you know? So they're gonna catch some people who are like, I need to care about my mom, and then they're gonna capitalize on that feeling. But their mom doesn't care about this. You just gotta call your mom more, you know? You don't really need any of this stuff. I don't think there's a single thing inside of this entire mall that during a zombie apocalypse would be even remotely valuable. You know, what am I gonna do with this? What am I gonna do with that? Sydney Sweeney was created by the fucking Agriculture Administration of China, dude. The whole thing's fake. Can I get a sample? Fuck. Maybe I should do videos where I just interact with random people and ask them questions, you know? What's your take on all this? All right, I'm done.